Hey man, there's a kind of heartbreak most men never talk about because it feels too embarrassing to admit. It's the pain of losing a woman, not because you failed her, not because you weren't enough, but because you treated her too well. You gave her everything she said she wanted: attention, consistency, affection, effort, and instead of bringing her closer, it pushed her away. And you didn't understand why. You kept replaying it in your head thinking, how can someone lose interest in the very things they ask for? But the truth is, she didn't lose interest in you. She lost interest in the comfort you created, and no one warns men about how painful that kind of loss is. You remember how it started? She lit up when you texted back, she leaned in when you made plans, she smiled differently when you made her feel special, and you didn't think twice before matching her energy. You thought you were doing everything right, being present, being consistent, being a man who actually shows up. But somewhere along the way, something shifted inside her. The excitement in her voice softened, the enthusiasm in her replies faded, the warmth you felt from her turned into this strange, distant politeness. You felt it happening, but you didn't know how to stop it. It was like watching someone slowly walk out of your life while pretending everything was fine. The part that stings the most is how unaware you were of the emotional trap you were stepping into. You thought giving her your best would inspire her to give hers. You thought treating her well would make her feel secure, valued, and seen. But instead, she started taking your effort as a guarantee. She stopped earning your kindness because she assumed it would always be there. What once felt precious to her became normal. What once felt special became expected. And the moment your presence stopped giving her a thrill, she began drifting toward the things that did. Not because she deserved better, but because she became numb to what you provided. It's painful to admit, but women don't lose interest because a man is too good. They lose interest because emotional comfort kills the tension that attraction feeds on. The more predictable you became, the less she felt. The more available you were, the less she reached. The more effort you gave, the less she had to give back. And when a woman no longer has to try, something inside her shuts off. It's not deliberate, it's not malicious, it's emotional biology. Desire fades when everything becomes too easy, too safe, too certain. She didn't stop caring because you were good. She stopped caring because she no longer felt the pull she once felt. You didn't notice it at first. You just felt her becoming different. She wasn't texting back with the same energy. She wasn't excited to see you like she used to. She didn't try to look her best around you anymore. You told yourself she was just busy, stressed, tired, anything to avoid seeing the truth. But deep down, you felt it. You felt the warmth leaving her body. You felt the emotional door slowly closing. And the worst part, you kept responding to her distance by giving even more reassurance, more effort, more attention, not realizing that every extra bit of energy you poured into her was pushing her further away. It's heartbreaking to look back and realize how much you abandoned yourself trying to keep her interested. You let her moods dictate your confidence. You let her silence dictate your anxiety. You let her inconsistency shape your self-worth. You kept thinking, if I just try a little harder, she'll come back. But broken men know the truth. Trying harder for someone who's drifting only speeds up the drift. Because she wasn't leaving due to lack of effort, she was leaving because your effort removed the emotional friction that kept her drawn to you. You made her feel safe, but safe isn't the same as excited. There's a point in every man's life where he realizes that treating someone too well before the connection is solid is a form of emotional overexposure. You gave her the version of you she was supposed to earn. You gave her the devotion meant for someone who had proven herself. You gave her loyalty before she had even shown you consistency. And in doing so, you taught her that she didn't need to fight to keep you, that she didn't need to invest emotionally, that she could coast while you carried everything. And when a woman doesn't have to put in effort, she loses connection to the relationship. What hurts the most is that she didn't communicate it. She didn't tell you, hey, you're giving too much, slow down. She let you continue giving until you had nothing left. And then she left. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, almost casually, as if the connection never meant what it meant to you. You sat there wondering what changed, but the truth is, she felt the shift long before you did. She lost the feeling long before you sensed the distance. And she didn't stop you because the comfort of your effort still benefited her, even while the attraction faded. You probably look back now and realize how differently she treated you. Once she knew she had you, in the beginning she earned your time. Later, she expected it. In the beginning, she appreciated your consistency. Later, she was annoyed by it. In the beginning, she admired your kindness. Later, she took it for granted. You didn't change, but the value of your actions changed in her eyes. And that's the part that breaks a man, realizing he lost her, not because he messed up, but because he cared in a way she wasn't prepared to reciprocate. And here's the brutal truth: most men learn too late. A woman stops valuing what she stops chasing. Once she feels she has you fully, unquestionably, permanently, she stops feeling pulled toward you. That spark she once had wasn't based on how much you gave, it was based on the emotional journey of earning you. When she no longer had to earn anything, she lost the feeling that kept her invested. You didn't lose her because you weren't enough. You lost her because you gave so much that she forgot how to appreciate it. And that's the kind of heartbreak that turns men quiet. There comes a moment in every man's life when he looks back at the version of himself he was with her. The man who answered texts instantly. The man who rearranged his plans just to fit hers. The man who apologized even when he wasn't wrong. The man who hoped his effort would soften her distance. And he realizes he wasn't being loved. He was being used. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but emotionally. She used the comfort of your presence to soothe her loneliness. She used your affection to fill the empty parts of her self-esteem. She used your consistency to stabilize the chaos inside her, but none of it made her choose you. That's the part that's hardest to swallow. You were good to her, and yet she drifted anyway. You remember how confusing it was. One day she was warm, affectionate, excited. The next day she was distant, distracted, emotionally unreachable. And because you cared, you tried to fix it. You tried talking, you tried listening, you tried planning things, you tried reassuring her, but nothing worked, because the problem wasn't your effort, the problem was her comfort. She had already slipped into that emotional autopilot, where you didn't feel like a man she could lose. You felt like a man who would always stay, and once she believed that, she stopped fighting for your attention. She stopped fearing your absence. She stopped valuing what you gave. It's hard to love someone who feels inevitable. The worst part is how guilty you felt for even questioning her behavior. You thought your doubt meant you were insecure. You thought her fading interest meant you weren't doing enough. You thought pulling back would hurt her, so you leaned in even more. But all you were doing was suffocating the connection with your fear. You didn't know that the more you tried to keep her close, the more she felt the urge to push away. It wasn't because she hated you, it was because she couldn't feel the emotional tension that made the beginning feel alive. And when that tension disappears, so does a woman's curiosity. Every man who has loved too hard knows the moment the dynamic shifted. It's that quiet, sinking feeling in your chest when she stops asking questions, when she stops remembering details, when she stops caring whether she disappoints you, when she stops showing up with the energy she once had. You can't explain it in words, but you can feel it. She's slipping, and instead of stepping back and letting the truth reveal itself, you try to pull her closer, hoping your effort could rebuild what her heart had already let go of. You didn't realize that your effort was now the very thing suffocating the connection. You didn't want to believe she was losing interest, so you convinced yourself she was stressed, overwhelmed, or just going through something. And maybe part of that was true. But if you're honest with yourself now, you know that the deeper truth was this: she stopped seeing you as a challenge. She stopped seeing you as a mystery. She stopped wondering what you thought or how you felt. You became predictable, and predictable became invisible. And nothing wounds a man more deeply than realizing he kept giving more in a situation where she kept feeling less. One day you woke up and realized you were the only one initiating, the only one planning, the only one checking in, the only one who cared enough to hold everything together, and it crushed you, because you remembered how mutual it felt at the start, how balanced it felt, how alive it felt. But somewhere along the line, she stopped choosing you and started allowing you. That shift is devastating because it doesn't happen overnight. It happens in 100 small moments you ignored because you didn't want to lose her. The hardest truth to accept is that being too good to someone who hasn't emotionally matured yet doesn't inspire loyalty. It triggers entitlement. She begins to believe she deserves what you give without having to give anything back. She begins comparing your constant effort to the excitement of someone new. She begins craving the emotional uncertainty she no longer feels with you. She doesn't realize the damage she's causing because she's too blinded by the thrill of novelty to appreciate the stability of your love. And you're left wondering why kindness wasn't enough, why consistency wasn't valued, why loyalty wasn't treasured. But here's the part you never admit out loud. Deep down, you didn't just want her to appreciate you. You wanted her to need you. You wanted to be that man whose presence mattered. You wanted to be the one she turned to, the one she admired, the one she chose with her whole heart, and that desire made you overgive. It made you ignore red flags. It made you accept behavior you once said you'd never tolerate. You didn't lose her because you were weak. You lost her because you were willing to love harder than she was willing to try. The truth is, she didn't fall out of interest because you were good. She fell out of interest because being good was all you were. You stopped being a mystery. You stopped having boundaries. You stopped having a life outside of her. And without realizing it, you made her the center of your world, long before she was ready to offer you the same. A woman can admire a man who gives everything, but she can only desire a man who still holds something back, not out of manipulation, but out of self-respect. And now you sit with the heaviness of hindsight, the quiet ache that whispers, I shouldn't have given so much. And you're right, not because generosity is wrong, but because she wasn't the one who deserved the full weight of your heart. She wasn't ready. She wasn't built for the responsibility of being loved that deeply, and losing her wasn't your failure. It was the universe pulling you away from someone who didn't know what to do with a man who actually showed up. The good you gave wasn't wasted. It simply wasn't meant for her. There's a point after she's gone where the truth hits you harder than the breakup itself. She didn't leave because you lacked something. She left because you gave her everything before she earned any of it. You didn't let her discover you. You didn't give her time to wonder. You didn't allow the connection to breathe. You handed her the finished version of you before she ever worked for the privilege of knowing you, and people rarely value what they didn't struggle to hold on to. It's brutal, but it's real. She didn't get bored of you. She got bored of how easy it was to access the best parts of you. And the memories that hurt the most aren't the arguments or the disconnect. They're the moments where you thought everything was fine. The nights you stayed up talking, the plans you made together, the way she used to stare at you like you were someone she could actually fall for. Those moments were real, but they were real for who you were then, not who you became. You changed from a man she was getting to know into a man she already knew too well. You became predictable, emotionally transparent, fully exposed, and even though you meant well, what she felt was the slow suffocation of certainty. You didn't realize it, but every time you overextended, every time you tried to prove something, every time you made yourself available at the cost of your own life, you were teaching her something, that your world revolved around her. And once she learned that, her attraction shifted from desire to comfort. Comfort is calming, but it's not compelling. She stopped chasing you, not because you were unworthy, but because she felt like she already had you, completely and forever. And nothing kills excitement faster than the feeling that there's nothing left to discover. Looking back, you can see the exact moment where she stopped trying. Her texts got shorter, her good mornings disappeared, she stopped getting dressed up to see you, she stopped asking questions, she stopped caring how you felt, and instead of matching her distance, you panicked. You leaned in, you tried harder, you thought effort could revive something her heart had quietly buried. But effort doesn't fix emotional detachment, it exposes it. And the more you tried to show her she mattered, the more she realized she didn't have to show you anything. The version of you she lost interest in wasn't the real you. It was the version of you shaped by fear. Fear of losing her, fear of disappointing her, fear of not being enough. That fear made you shrink, made you agreeable, made you ignore your boundaries, made you take responsibility for her moods. You stopped being a man living his own life and became a man managing hers. And women don't fall for the man who manages them, they fall for the man who inspires them, for the man whose world is already full before she enters it. What makes this pain so haunting is that she never said anything. She didn't warn you she was slipping. She didn't tell you your effort felt heavy. She didn't tell you your kindness felt overwhelming. She didn't tell you she needed space to feel attraction again. She just changed silently, subtly, calmly, and because you were emotionally invested, you missed every sign. You convinced yourself things were fine, you believed her excuses, you took her words at face value, even when her actions contradicted everything she said. It wasn't stupidity, it was loyalty that wasn't being returned. You'll never forget how small she made you feel toward the end. Not intentionally, but through indifference, through the lack of excitement when she saw you, through the dullness in her eyes when you spoke, through the way she treated your affection like a routine instead of a privilege. You kept giving, hoping the warmth would come back, but she wasn't losing interest in your effort. She was losing interest in the version of herself that felt nothing anymore. And you can't save someone from their own emotional numbness. What really breaks a man is the moment he realizes she never asked for more, he just kept giving. She didn't demand your constant attention. She didn't force you to prioritize her above yourself. She didn't require you to abandon your life, but you did it anyway, because you wanted to show her how serious you were. You thought commitment meant giving everything. You thought love meant self-sacrifice. You didn't know that the fastest way to lose a woman's respect is to stop respecting your own needs. You didn't ruin things by being good. You ruined things by disappearing into the role of the man you thought she wanted. And now when you look back, the truth feels like a punch to the gut. She wasn't overwhelmed by your love. She was overwhelmed by the pressure of being the center of your world. She didn't want that responsibility. She didn't want that level of emotional dependence. She didn't want to carry the weight of your happiness. She wanted a partner, not a man who placed his entire identity in her hands. And once she realized she couldn't live up to the idealized version of her you created, she stepped back quietly because she felt suffocated by expectations she never asked for. But here's the part that brings the deepest healing. She didn't leave because you weren't worthy. She left because she wasn't ready for the version of love you gave. And losing her wasn't a sign that you should stop being good. It was a sign that your goodness needs boundaries. Not every heart can hold the weight of yours. Not every woman is capable of appreciating what you give. And her inability to value it doesn't make your effort meaningless. It makes her the wrong receiver. You didn't fail her. She simply reached her emotional limit, and you kept giving past it. There's a quiet moment after she's gone where you sit alone, replaying everything you did, every gesture, every effort, every apology, and you can't help but wonder why none of it mattered. Why did the woman who once held your hand like she'd never let go suddenly lose interest in a man who gave her nothing but his best? And that's when the truth slowly forms inside you. She didn't leave because you lacked intensity. She left because you lacked mystery. You exposed every part of your heart before she earned even a fraction of it. And people rarely treasure what they don't have to work for. It doesn't make her evil, it just makes her human, in a way that hurts more than betrayal ever could. The strange thing is that after the breakup, she'll sometimes act confused about why the feelings faded. She'll tell her friends, "He was amazing, I don't know what happened," and she's not lying, she really doesn't know. Because it wasn't something you said or something you did, it was the emotional comfort she drowned in. She didn't wake up one day and decide to stop caring. Her heart simply stopped responding to the consistency she once admired. That's what breaks a man the most. Realizing that love can die inside someone without them meaning to kill it. And if you're being honest, part of you misses the early version of her more than you miss the relationship itself. You miss the girl who would blush when you looked at her, who would text you excitedly, who would sit close, laugh freely, kiss you like she meant it. That girl felt real, but she wasn't a permanent version of her. She was the version awakened by uncertainty, curiosity, tension. When you took all that away by being everything too soon, that early fire had nothing to feed on, and once it burned out, all you were left with was the cold truth. She loved the chase more than the commitment. One of the hardest things to accept is how quickly she replaced what you thought was irreplaceable. You gave her the kind of emotional security most people spend years looking for, yet she walked away from it like it was nothing. And the brutal part, she didn't look back, not because she didn't value you, but because she couldn't feel anything anymore. She wasn't running towards someone else. She was running away from the comfort she wasn't emotionally mature enough to handle. She needed chaos to feel alive again, because stability felt like routine, and routine felt like boredom. Meanwhile, you're left with an emotional hangover that lasts far longer than the relationship itself. Because you didn't just lose her, you lost the version of yourself you were when she was still choosing you. The confident, grounded, hopeful man. The man who believed love was simple. The man who thought effort always wins. And watching that version of you die hurts more than losing her ever could. You don't just mourn her, you mourn yourself. The man you became in the end wasn't the man she fell for. He was the man shaped by fear, confusion, and desperation. And you didn't even notice it happening. This experience changes a man, not in a bitter, hateful way, but in a quiet, internal way. You start to move differently. You stop offering your heart to every smile. You stop responding instantly. You stop giving effort without seeing effort. You stop confusing kindness with compatibility. You stop offering loyalty where consistency is missing. The pain rewires you. It forces you to create boundaries you never had before. And those boundaries aren't walls, they're protection. Not from love, but from losing yourself in the process of chasing it. There's a point where you finally understand that being too good wasn't the real problem. The real problem was being good in the wrong way, at the wrong pace, to the wrong person. You weren't wrong for loving deeply. You weren't wrong for caring intensely. You weren't wrong for wanting something real. What went wrong was giving that level of love to someone who only felt that level of excitement in the beginning. Once her initial high faded, she didn't have the maturity or emotional stability to transition into a deeper, calmer love. She mistook comfort for dullness, and she mistook novelty for connection. You didn't fail her. She failed to evolve with you. And here's what makes this lesson unforgettable. You start noticing the same pattern in other men. You hear their stories, you see their pain, you recognize the same emotional mistakes, giving too soon, loving too loudly, sacrificing too deeply, hoping too blindly. It dawns on you that this pain is universal, that men everywhere are punished for being loyal before loyalty is earned. And in that quiet realization, something inside you shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a man who was too good, and start seeing yourself as a man who simply wasn't selective enough with his goodness. But eventually, you begin rebuilding, slowly, quietly, without announcing it to anyone. You start returning to the things you lost in the process of loving her. Your goals, your ambitions, your self-respect, your inner calm. You start valuing your time again. You start enjoying your own company again. And without forcing anything, you begin turning back into the man you were supposed to be. Not the man who loved her, but the man who learned from losing her. And that version of you is stronger, clearer, more grounded than ever. And here's the truth you eventually learn to live with. She didn't lose interest because you were good to her. She lost interest because she never knew how to receive the kind of love you gave. Your kindness wasn't the problem. Her capacity was. Your consistency wasn't the issue. Her emotional immaturity was. Your effort wasn't wasted. It was misplaced. And once that truth settles in, the pain fades and clarity takes its place. You realize you weren't too good. You were good in a world that didn't know what to do with a man like you. And the next time you give your heart, you'll give it slowly, carefully, deliberately. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. What stays with you long after she's gone isn't just the memory of her, it's the memory of how you felt when you were with her. The way her early affection boosted your confidence, the way her attention made life feel lighter, the way she looked at you in those first weeks, like she saw something in you that even you didn't see. And losing that feeling is what shatters a man. Because you weren't just trying to keep her, you were trying to keep the version of yourself you became when she made you feel wanted. That's why the breakup hits so hard. Not because she walked away, but because she took a part of you with her, a part you didn't know how to rebuild at first. And when you finally accept that she isn't coming back, you start analyzing every moment, every text, every conversation, trying to understand where everything went wrong. You think, maybe I should have pulled back sooner. Maybe I shouldn't have been so available. Maybe I should have let her chase more. And while those things might be true, that's not what hurts the most. What hurts is realizing you didn't love wrong. You just loved a woman who couldn't hold what you were giving. You were trying to build a relationship with someone who only had the emotional capacity for early excitement, not long-term depth. Over time, something changes inside you. You stop blaming yourself, you stop romanticizing the past, you stop holding on to the fantasy of who she was in the beginning, because you finally see that her early version wasn't sustainable. Not for her, not for anyone. She came into your life with intensity, but lacked the stability to stay at that level. And once the initial emotion faded, she didn't have the maturity to create love intentionally. She only knew how to feel it suddenly, not build it slowly. You weren't too good. You were simply too real for someone who lived on emotional highs. One day, you catch yourself no longer hurting when you think of her, but reflecting. You start recognizing the patterns she had, the inconsistency, the impulsiveness, the need for validation, the way she mistook comfort for boredom. You start realizing she didn't choose to lose interest, she just followed her emotional programming. She was drawn to intensity, not stability. She was drawn to novelty, not commitment. She was drawn to the idea of you, not the responsibility of loving you. She didn't reject your goodness, she just wasn't built for it. And then something even more powerful happens. You begin to understand yourself. You begin to see why you tolerated her fading effort for so long, why you kept giving more to someone who was giving less, why you accepted crumbs when you deserved the whole damn table. You weren't weak, you weren't naive, you were hopeful. You believed love could fix what consistency couldn't. You believed effort could revive what her heart had already abandoned. You believed loyalty meant staying, even when she wasn't choosing you anymore. And that realization doesn't make you ashamed, it makes you human. Eventually you reach a point where you no longer want her back, not because you hate her, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself who needed her. You see now that the man you were when you loved her was a man who didn't yet understand his own value, a man who measured his worth by how much he could give instead of how much he demanded in return, a man who loved intensely but didn't know how to protect himself. Losing her wasn't the tragedy you thought it was the beginning of a man who learned to love with strength instead of desperation. A strange thing happens when you heal. You stop chasing women who can't appreciate what you bring. You stop falling for women who rely on chaos to feel emotional connection. You stop mistaking intensity for intimacy. You stop giving access to women who haven't shown consistency. You no longer crave the butterflies, you crave the peace. And when a woman enters your life who actually matches your effort, who reciprocates without needing to be chased, who values your stability instead of running from it, you finally understand why all the others had to fail. The truth is, she didn't lose interest because you were too good. She lost interest because she wasn't ready for the type of man you were becoming. You were offering long-term depth to someone who lived in short-term emotion. You were offering stability to someone addicted to unpredictability. You were offering peace to someone who didn't know how to exist without chaos. You were offering loyalty to someone who had never learned how to receive it. She didn't stop liking you, she stopped recognizing the value of what you gave. But the real turning point in your story is when you finally stop seeing her loss of interest as a reflection of your inadequacy. Instead, you start seeing it as a testament to the fact that your love wasn't meant for her phase of life. She wasn't ready for a man who gives fully, consistently, deeply. She wasn't prepared for the responsibility of being loved, that honestly. She wasn't equipped to meet the emotional standard you brought. She didn't walk away from your goodness. She walked away from the weight of it, and that weight will be cherished by the right woman one day. And finally, when everything settles, when the pain fades and the lessons remain, you realize something liberating. Losing her didn't break you, it refined you. Your heart didn't become colder, it became wiser. Your effort didn't become smaller, it became selective. Your love didn't become weaker, it became disciplined. She may have lost interest because you were too good to her, but one day someone else will fall in love because of that goodness. And you will finally give it in a way that doesn't drown you to someone who can swim beside you, not someone who lets you sink alone.